Gary Klein back with us, covers the Rams for the LA Times. The status of defensive tackle Aaron Donald. The deadline today. Looks like the deadline will pass. How's morale at Rams camp, Gary?
Well, Dan, this is nothing new for the Rams with Aaron Donald not in training camp. So I would say morale is high. It's a little bit hot and muggy for the Rams here in Baltimore. Not the weather they're used to in Southern California down at UC Irvine, but all things considered, they seem like a pretty happy group right now.
Any chance this goes into the regular season with Aaron Donald?
I suppose there's a chance, but I would be really surprised if it gets to that point. I mean, again, Aaron Donald sat out last year, and the Rams didn't blink. He came back. He's the NFL Defensive Player for the year. So on some level, I'm sure Sean McVay and the Rams are saying, great, keep him out of training camp. He doesn't get injured. We'll get serious after the preseason ends. And really, they do have about an 11-day window after the final preseason game and the beginning of the regular season. So I wouldn't be surprised if things start to heat up at that point. But to this point, they seem to be at a standstill.
If we're picking sides here, which side would you be on with management versus Aaron Donald here?
You know, I think this is a situation where they're probably both going to come out winners. I mean, at this point, there has to be a deal on the table that would make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Obviously, he wants a little bit more than that. And from the Rams standpoint, you know, they want to lock him up for as long as they can. They don't want to have to resort to the franchise tag and that way of controlling him. So I think, you know, right now you got quarterbacks making 20, good quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers and Phillip Rivers making that. My sense would be on Aaron Donald's standpoint, they're looking at the salary cap and how that's gone up, a new collective bargaining agreement coming in a couple of years. And I'm guessing that the sticking point is not the dollars as much as it is those kinds of factors, like what's going to happen when this contract becomes instantly obsolete.
Expectations are pretty high, Gary. Are they too high?
For the Rams?
Yeah.
Or for Donald?
Well, more for the Rams.
I don't think they're too high because Sean McVay, you know, has, I think, showed last year that he can put an offense together. Jared Goff, you know, erased the questions that were there after his rookie season. Todd Gurley, has a new extension. Brandon Cooks, who's there, just signed a big extension and is regarded as a missing piece. So I think that offense is in place. The defense, with the addition of Ndamukong Suh, should be stronger, as well as Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters. So I don't think that the optimism, the Super Bowl buzz, whatever you want to call it, is unfounded. But, of course, they have to go out and play and get lucky that no one gets hurt.
I don't know if you can have too much talent, but you can have too much personality. The Rams have a lot of talent. Do they have too many personalities?
You know, Dan, I think we talked about this a few months ago when they made those trades for Talib and Peters and signed a Sue. And now we've at least had a small sample size. We've seen them in organized team activities, mini camps. We're seeing how they're kind of melding during training camp. It all looks great right now, but I think you raise a good point. This is a locker room that had no problems last year, and if this thing goes sideways with those personalities in the locker room, there is definitely potential for great drama.
And I'm also curious about this, that it felt like the Rams exceeded expectations last year, and by doing so, almost you kind of turned up the clock a little bit on let's go for it. I don't know if they weren't winning 10, 11 games, that would they have gone all in and getting Ndamukong Suh and then Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters? Did we speed up the process a little bit based off of last season, or was this the original sort of time frame for them?
No, I think it definitely speeds up the process. And remember, they've got this new stadium that they're trying to sell fans and suites and everything else for coming up. So the most important factor in this, really, Dan, that sped up the process is the development of Jared Goff, because they've got a starting quarterback, a guy who was in the Pro Bowl last year, who's under contract at a ridiculously affordable price. This is their window right now where they can afford to pay Todd Gurley and Brandon Cooks and Aaron Donald, because Jared Goff's coming down the pike, and he's probably going to be a $25 to $30 million quarterback in a few years. This is their time to go for it. So I think that's one of the main factors they went all in.
Have you seen enough of Goff that you know what you saw last year is what we're going to continue to see?
No, I think, I'm still skeptical on some levels. He made a great leap from his first year to his second year, but I think a lot of that is attributable to Sean McVay and the offense that was installed. He takes it, Goff is in a great position, in that system. And I think we'll have to see if he can make that leap in year 3. The thing he didn't show last year, the Rams won a lot of games, but Goff didn't win any games. He didn't lose any, but he didn't win any. And I think for him to kind of really be considered a guy who's elevated his game, we need to see him win a game in the fourth quarter or do something that takes him to the next level.
I'm also curious. We see this in baseball. We're seeing it in basketball. They call it the process or they call it tanking. With the NFL, it feels like these GMs are looking for their quarterback that they can keep. They have that rookie salary, and you got somebody like Russell Wilson in Seattle. And then you build around those quarterbacks while you can because you can afford to do so. And it feels like, that's what the Rams are doing now. When did this process begin? Do you remember which team?
I think Russell Wilson, as you pointed out, is a great example. With they kind of found him right in the third round or whatever. Pete Carroll and Schneider realized what they had, and then they started loading up that defense, giving those guys big contracts, Richard Sherman and everyone else, and they built a winner. And I think the Rams playing in the NFC West learned from that. Seahawks are a little bit of a model. And now I think the Rams are also taking it another step further, at least in this offseason. Les Snead's ability to identify guys like Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib before, the free agency period started or any of that. He made those trades before they could really even be on the books as guys that were available. And I think might be the next trend. But certainly this quarterback, building around the young quarterback under control with a salary that's affordable seems to be the way to go.
When you see Sean Mannion, please tell him we said hello.
I definitely will. He's a new father, just had a baby girl, and we'll see. He's probably going to get a lot of opportunity here in the preseason because I'm guessing McVay's going to sit Goff and keep him out of harm's way. We'll see if Sean Mannion can make a case for getting an extension with the Rams or putting on a show for some other teams that might pick him up.
And I don't know if this is an accurate quote or not, but you can go with it. I think Sean Mannion said having a baby is the second greatest thing that's happened to him aside from being on this program. So you can ask him. I mean, investigate, Gary. You're a journalist, but you can ask him about that.
I have no doubt you're quoting him.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks again.
That's Gary Klein, LA Times, Rams beat writer.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.